Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Rachel Freeman Sowers live show, the go-to place for female entrepreneurs who want to become bold in their expression of their business, their mission, and themselves on video. Welcome. Make sure to tell me where you are joining me from. Put your name in the comments. I want to say hello to you. I'm really hoping that tonight is going to be very interactive. Because the topic tonight is about breaking the stigma of showing emotion on video. And so we're going to go through some of the things that come along with that. Why is there a stigma around showing emotion? What brought this up for me? What creates this pattern? What needs to happen? Because really what all of these things are keeping us from doing is showing up fully as ourselves on video and frankly in a lot of other places in our lives. And there's lots of reasons for this, but before I go into that, I just want to let you know that if you haven't found or watched any of the latest guest episodes of the Rachel Freeman Sowers live show, please go over to my YouTube channel and watch them. They have been spectacular. I've been blessed with having wonderful guests on the show. More guests to come. I cannot wait throughout the month of June and, well, pretty much throughout the rest of the year. What am I saying? And it's really something that I love doing because that is part of bringing women forward and being able to speak about their businesses and their missions and themselves with using this vehicle of video, because I do believe it is the number one way of reaching the people that are waiting to be reached by you. And so I want to talk really quick. If you have ever felt like showing any kind of emotion in your life in different areas was not okay. So if that has happened to you, because it has happened to me in multiple areas, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But if it has ever happened to you and you have felt like, well, now it's really not the time to show emotion, so I have to keep this shoved down inside, and I can't let people see that I'm vulnerable. I can't let people see that I am actually maybe even hurting. Maybe I can't really let people see that I'm happy because it might do something to other people. There's multiple things that in our culture have taught us to keep ourselves in check, so to speak. And this is no different than in video. So I'm going to read to you about 15 things that I have heard from women about why they struggle to be on video, why they can't be consistent on video. Like there's lots of underlying things here that I really want to help you know how to tap into. Because if you tap into those things, I guarantee you that's when the stuff starts coming out and really begins to allow you to show up as yourself. So here are they. I'm just going to list them off. If you have experienced one of these reasons or have ever thought, hey, is it Serena or Sharina? I don't know how to say your name. I'm so glad you're on here from Shasta Lake. If you have ever felt any of these, whether you're watching the live or recorded, please put it in the comments which one you have felt or which has kept you small. Let's just call it like it is, all right? So they struggle with what to say. Lots of women say, I don't know what to say. I don't know. I don't want to mess up on my words. They're worried about what people will think. They don't like the way they look on video. They don't like the sound of their voice. Their accent is too thick. It's too high. It's too low. It's too cracked. I mean, all kinds of things. They don't like their teeth, just in general, the way you look. They don't, they say that they're not techie. I'm not techie. I'm going to tell you that one of the easiest things to do right now is go live on video. It's not hard. You don't have to be a techie. But that's not what's really holding you back. Let's just say that. They don't know why. They just can't do it. They're unable to communicate their emotions on video. It's a fear of vulnerability. What will people think of me? That's a whole nother way of judgment. So they feel vulnerable. They're worried about judgment. They're worried about rejection. What if people don't like what I say? What happens if I offend somebody? How many of you have ever thought that? What happens if my words offend people? Right? Not being good enough yet or still not being good enough. So it's like, I'm not good enough yet. I need to learn more stuff. And after you learn more stuff, you're still walking away feeling like, well, I still need to know more stuff. It's not good enough yet, right? They try to push through and then experience the rabbit hole of shame. Why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? I should be able to do this. I can do this in other parts of my life. Why can't I do it here? And down, down, down the rabbit hole of shame. Cultural pressures and conditioning, huge one. If I can do it, you can do it too. So they get told this, and the problem, and I have said this before, and I've done a lot of internal work about this saying, and the problem with this is that because of there being a lack of equality in different races, in different cultures, and all of those things, it's not as easy for some people to do it. And so then women end up feeling bad about themselves because she can do it. How come I can't do it? That's been in my mind before, right? They try to do it like everyone else and it still doesn't work. They don't have the right equipment. It feels uncomfortable, or they've been told, oh, just get on video and fake it till you make it. But because it doesn't feel good to be faking, because we already have imposter syndrome. Anyone ever feel imposter syndrome? Like, that's for real. So now you're told to fake it till you make it, but not to be an imposter, but you feel like an imposter. That's a whole rabbit wheel going around. Perfection, the millionth take, like it's still not good enough. It's still not good enough. It's still not good enough. Fear of being seen and heard. Embarrassed to talk about your service, your product, or your program. Maybe you have a service, a product, or a program that in the past has been taboo to talk about. So I'm going to tell you this, that I have been doing video since 2015. Holy crap, that's a long time. I've been doing video since about 2015. And I've talked about things that have not been appropriate really to talk about. And that's one of the ways I started doing video. I wanted to talk about things that weren't talked about out loud. And sometimes people have services that are helping people with sexual dysfunction, or having women know how to love themselves. There's things about what you think about yourself. I mean, there's all kinds of cultural things that we have been taught, especially in my generation, that you just don't talk about, right? Being a lesbian in a marriage, in my relationship, and my history, I hid that for a really long time. There's a podcast that I was a guest on that I talk about that. You should look forward to my social media because I'm going to post it tomorrow. But go and listen to that, how cultural influences really affected the way I was able to be myself. I'm not good enough to attract the people that I want to help. So maybe you don't feel like people will think that you can help them because you have emotions or because you have self-doubt or fear. They don't trust themselves in knowing and bringing their message into the world. So a lot of people say, well, I don't care what people think of me. I don't care this, I don't care that. Well, the fact of the matter is that we do care. We're human beings. That's how we're wired, is to care. But the point is that we often have to go to extremes. We either care too much or we don't care at all. So we're either at either extreme and we don't know this middle part. And I just can't be consistent with video. Like, all of these things stop them from showing up. So if you have experienced any of these things, I would love to hear from you in the comments. And we already have, hey, Sarah Beth, how are you? Some of these things have already been coming up. But why do they really come up for us? And I mentioned this a little bit before. So where does this stuff come from? Let me take that off of there. So where do you think this stuff comes from? Let me ask you that. Tell me in the comments where you think it comes from. So I have a list here of where I think this stuff comes from. So first of all, it comes from cultural upbringing. It comes from your environment. And I'm not saying that your parents were bad or they taught you wrong. You know, we're not going down that road. They did the best they could for whatever they had. I even did the best I could for whatever I knew and whatever I had. But the fact of the matter is that our cultural influences have taught us so much about how we are to behave. I even remember being told when I was very young, you're too sensitive, you're always crying, stop crying. Or how many of you have either said this to your children? So I have one daughter, she's 28 now. And but I used to say this to her because it was what was said to me. If you start crying, I'm going to give you something to really cry about. How many of you have heard that? Or, stop, don't cry over spilt milk. How about that? So all of this time that we are sensitive beings, I'm a highly sensitive individual. I've been taught to keep all these things under wraps, which then affects the way that I have showed up in my whole entire life. Now, I wouldn't change a thing about it. Let's just be clear about that. But what happens is there's cultural influences, there's immediate family influences, there's more like generational influences. There is, my dad said the SLL all the time. What is SLL? Kimberly, tell me what SLL is, because whether I said it, I can't get now what it means. So cultural influences, religious influences. What about, so then we go into having all of this shame, right? Then we have all of this shame, which helps other people keep us in check. So if you think about this and how we were taught to be workers, and so funny, took me a really long time, but through continuous rebelling, I finally decided that I just needed to work for myself, because I didn't want I couldn't express my individuality, which was waiting to come out for so very long. Many of you have heard about I wait to get a job at this corporation right when I'm graduating with my first degree from school. I sit in there. I knew this is where I wanted to work. And at the end of the time, at the end of my stint there, getting let go because I was told I was too sensitive. I was too sensitive for corporate because I wasn't understanding. It wasn't logical, the decisions that they were making. So I would push and push and push the boundary. And so emotions, how many of you too, this is another good one, leave your personal life at home, your emotions at home, and your work stuff at work? That is a huge one. Give me thumbs up and hearts if you have heard that one. Like, you're supposed to leave that stuff at home, whether you're struggling with your kids and all of that stuff, or maybe you're struggling with your partner, but don't bring any of that to work. So you're supposed to shut that off. And then no wonder when you really want to turn it on and you want to show up as you, and you want to be freaking proud of yourself, but you're afraid to say it to other people for what they may think, or maybe they think you're bragging. I have a client who has overcome this thing. Like she said, I was taught that was bragging, that I couldn't really be proud of myself. That if we talked about how she could use testimonials in her videos and for video, and even just in her social media. And in the beginning, it made her feel really uncomfortable. And today we had a discussion. She's like, so I did that thing with all the testimonials. And she said it was so funny that someone messaged me back wondering how that they could work with me. And one person said, I didn't even know you were a financial coach, right? The things we don't tell people when it's really our gift that we're to share. And we're talking about the things that really keep us from showing up. And I'm just saying video. The things that keep you from showing up on video are the same things that have kept you from showing up for yourself in other parts of your life. Now, some people may say, like, Rachel, how do you know that you can say that? I can say that because I've been a marriage and family therapist for the last 18 years. And I know human beings. I know to see, or how to see, patterns of behavior. And that is what really allows my clients to get the results that they get, that are massive movement and shifts in their way of being, so that they can do more, give more, be more in the world, and make that massive impact. So this is also something that I've heard a lot of with ambitious, intelligent, and driven women, that we just muscle through. Someone said that to me before. Well, lots of people. I'm going to just muscle through this. I'm just going to push through. I'm just going to charge my way through. That's exactly why, I'm just going to keep going, head down, go. And that's how I used to be. I'm a Taurus. Surprise! So I would literally picture myself having my horns down and just going, like no one is stopping me. But the only detriment of that was that I didn't honor all of me, because I was one way focused. I couldn't honor all of me. This is where we get stuck in the patterns, the neurological pattern way of being that I've talked about so many times. Right? This is our pattern of how we have been told our bodies tell us how to stay safe. Now, there's a lot of controversy. What comes first, the mind or the body? I am saying it's the body. It is the primal response. It's the vagus nerve that tells you in your gut, danger, 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 don't do it. It's also your somatic system never forgets any trauma that you have ever experienced. Now, trauma doesn't have to be child abuse. It doesn't have to be domestic violence. It doesn't have to be sexual violence. Trauma can include that one time that I was made fun of by that one boy in school from the 4th grade until the 10th grade and never said one mean thing to him, but every single day he would make fun of me and he would call me fat or he would call me any other name. That 6 years of trauma lives in my body, which is why I can get emotional about that now. So even now, as an adult, as a woman, how you can make one memory or someone can say one thing to you. Tell me in the comments if this has happened to you. They can say one thing to you and then automatically you feel judged, rejection, not good enough, messed up again, still fucked up, I guess. All those feelings come because your body says, I'm back here and I need to stay safe. So we need to do this thing. You release the exact same hormones as you released in those other incidences, whether you were rejected, whether you were harmed, any of that. Because your body is saying we need to keep ourselves safe. So really, what is the answer? Yes. See? Yes, I know. This is the stuff I'm so effing passionate about. Because these are the experiences that no longer need to happen and for us to show up. I mean, like Kimberly, I've watched your journey about your employment, about your non-employment, about everything that you've journeyed to get to where you are now, about your new goals, about some kind of mountain climbing. I'm telling you, girl, get that. Get it, girl. Like, this is how we need to not just change a mindset. Everyone says mindset, mindset, mindset. And again, I'll say to that, if it was just mindset, every one of us would be billionaires, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Every one of us would not have really any issues. We'd move through things like water off a duck's back, and it doesn't, it's not going to bother me. Like, we would have different lives. It was just our minds. But it is more than the mind. And that's really what my clients experience. I'm going to share a little bit of a testimonial with you. All right. So a lot of women say to me, and I made it as one of what is there? Oh, girl, I'm telling you, you just wait. You just wait, sister. I'm getting there. All right. So one of the other things that needs to happen, I'm just pulling right here. Oh, I got you, girl. I love that. I mean, yes, express, don't repress. This shit has got to come out. Like, we don't need to carry it around. And oh, there's so many thoughts going on in my head, but I feel you. My heart is with you, Kim. My heart is with you, my friend. So women say, how come I can run this company? How come I can write this book? How come I can do all these things and I cannot show up on video? How come I'm not as good as I am? I should be able to do it. Now you're going down the rabbit hole of shame, and we got to shut the lid on that shit. We have to shut the lid. Yes, these chats are recorded and they're on replay on my YouTube channel. So they'll get uploaded tomorrow. You can probably check them out by tomorrow afternoon. Please share if you know someone that could benefit. So then we go into this comparison. But because we have all of these experiences in our life, what happens now is that we have developed different parts of ourselves in each way. So if someone starts joking with me, in fact, I'll tell you this is vulnerability right here. When my wife and I first got together, her family does jokes. Like, they joke with each other. For me, joking is bullying. My body says I'm being bullied. So she and I had to have a conversation about, I get that's how you relate to other people, but that's not how you can relate to me. Now, I'm not asking her to change, but what I'm informing her of is that I have a lot of trauma around that. About being the odd person out, about being so expressive that it intimidates other people, right? It's all of those things that are taught to us. And so it's kind of like I had to let her know of that trauma about that thing. And I had to have a discussion with her to say, that's not okay with me. And she's like, so I'm never going to be able to joke with you? And I said, that's possible. I had to say, that's enough. This is the way I need to be in the world. This is what I need for my life. This is not a selfish way. Please hear that. This is not selfish. This is about knowing how I want to interact and the woman I want to be in the world on this video with you in any given moment. But because I have all of these different ways that I've dealt with all of these different things, there are kind of multiple parts of me. Now, I'm not talking about mental illness and multiple personalities and all that stuff. But what I'm talking about is that I can, if you put me in front of people on a stage, well, I don't know if I'd be much different than I am now. That's probably not a good example. If you put me in a room with a dying person, I might be different. If you put me with academia people, I may be different. Because I've been being different ways in different circumstances. Please say yes in the comments if that makes sense. I want to make sure you understand that. This is why women can feel really confident in one part of their business or their life and then feel very vulnerable on video. Because in this one way, you know your way of being. And this other way, you're not quite sure of your way of being. So this is where we do the internal work. So our world is dichotomous. It's either right or wrong, or black or white. It's good or bad. And that's what we're taught. So we often operate at extremes. But what I'm here to say is that there's all this room in the middle. So I've said it before, it's like you play in the gray. Like, what is the space in between that I don't have to be just totally rebellious or totally submissive, right? Or I don't have to be totally fearful or totally acting like I don't care, which is kind of the same thing. It's all fear, just FYI. So that's how we exist in both of these places. Now, how do we move through this? This is the good news. The good news is that you can move through it. The good news is that this is a patterned way of being. And if you do the right things for you, then you can release this stuff. It's not to think that whenever I think of bullying, I won't remember those times. But the fact of the matter is it no longer sends a charge through my body unless I want it to. It no longer stays. I stay in shame and embarrassment and guilt and all that stuff before it'd be like days down on myself. How come you can't? You're just not smart enough. I mean, like it's so funny when I say this, I'm like, I have a partial PhD, damn it. I mean, I feel like, well, you don't have a whole one. Well, who the fuck cares? I have a partial one and I've learned so much shit. Like, I know a lot of stuff, right? And so it's like, I don't have to be embarrassed about that. It doesn't mean anything about me except that I've done a partial PhD and that was okay for me, right? So we let go of some of that self-judgment. So what needs to happen is we need to do the internal work, which means we need to shift our beliefs and our perceptions. This is very intricate work, and it requires you to be able to have someone. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't matter, whatever, whether you go look for a therapist or whatever. It requires someone who has done their own work. This is the number one thing. When you go to look for a mentor, you need to look for a mentor that has done their work. Because if you have a wound, if they have a wound, and the two of you can join with your wounds, that is no bueno. Then you stay in the same space and you keep repeating the same patterns. You need someone that has moved through that. Now, this comes in with the kind of breaking the stigma of showing emotion on video. I've heard a lot of times in the online world, don't talk about something if it's still a wound. You want to talk about it once it's healed over, you have a scar. Well, I don't know if I think that that's necessarily true. Because if I wasn't vulnerable with you about the discrimination that I personally have had, that my business has had because I am part of the LGBTQ community, if I didn't share with you some of those things that are still very vulnerable for me, but my purpose in sharing those things is to show you that there's safety. You can have safety in this vulnerability. And so I wonder why we always think, well, I don't wonder why. I know why culturally. Now we're saying on video, don't cry, it's in therapy. It's like, don't share your own experiences. Don't get emotional. I'll get emotional in therapy, but I'll know exactly what's going on with me. So when you do the internal work, you know yourself. You get to know all parts of yourself, which shift your beliefs and your perspectives. And you start honoring every part of yourself. Then that allows you to shift into different outer actions and behaviors. Your interactions, the way you show up, the way you are, your way of being. That then equals your ability to show up as yourself. How many of you can say that you show up as yourself right now in every part of your life? Now, here's being more real with you. I don't think I've mastered that. And I show up a lot as myself. I show up a lot as myself. But it is the practice. It is not the end goal. It is this practice that I enjoy, exploring more of how I'm being, exploring more of how I want to interact. In fact, I started this little series. You can find it on my Instagram highlights, and it's called BRB, and it's called Breakthroughs and Rumbles from the Bike. So this is where I just share when I'm on the bike and I'm riding, all of these things come to me and I get breakthroughs, and then I get some rumblings that like, hey, Rachel, you need to pay attention to this, and I share them. So go and check those out. They're really short videos. So you show up as yourself, which then starts you sharing your gifts. Okay. So, because I know Kimberly's on here, Kimberly, are you still with me? Let me know. Because when you showed yourself on that stepper, yeah, peeps, I pay attention to your feeds. Don't think I'm not watching you. When you showed up and you were stepping, and you're like, this is what I'm doing. That was you being yourself. And I cannot tell you how many comments, and you could probably tell me, how many comments you had saying, get it, girl, you go, do you got this. And all you were doing was sharing something that you were doing because it came from internal, your heart. Do you know what I'm saying? What is something that you really want to be doing right now that you're not doing because you're not able to show up as yourself? Maybe you want to be more bold on video, and bold doesn't mean you have to be like me. I have clients that are more introverted than me, and their bold on video is really showing themselves in their way, right? It's a customized way of doing things. There's not a one size fits all. So when you start sharing your gifts, you are able to become a cultural change maker. And this is where you get to make the massive impact. A lot of women say to me, Rachel, I don't know if anyone will watch my videos. I don't know who's ever watching them. And videos, they're out there for the long haul. If I tried to take all of mine down, I would never know where to find them all, to be completely honest. So when they're out there, they're out there. But I'm going to tell you, I get messages consistently saying, I watched your video today. People find me. Like Serena found me and it's like, hey, how have I not known you? Right? How have I not found you before? Well, tonight was the night you were supposed to find me. And when we trust ourselves, we then begin making that impact that we want to make. So what is the impact you want to make? If you're an entrepreneur, the best way and one of the most efficient ways to make an impact and to get the word out there is through video. But even if you work for someone else, what is the impact that you want to be making? What is something that is unsettled within you? What are some of those rumblings that are coming up for you that's like, hey, this isn't quite fitting anymore. This isn't quite helpful anymore. Think about those things right now. And then what your homework is to start doing some of that internal work. And if you're not sure what that means, reach out to me. If you're looking for help with video in your business and really coming into your own, it's not just with video. I had a session today with a client, and what she said was this. Every week we ask, like, what are the biggest shifts? And she wrote on here, there's not really any big shifts, just little ones. And then we started talking. And then she said, what I realized this week was I don't have to come up with all this technical stuff. I don't have to know it all. I don't have to always come up with technical stuff. I can just share me. And I was like, what? The heavens opened up. It was like, oh. And I was like, that is a big shift. No longer claiming that perfection is a necessity out of fear of what people might think and say about you. But she gets on there and her YouTube channel is growing and she's magnificent on video, showing up, imparting her personality, and people are loving it. Right? These are the things that when you show up, your gifts really shine. So there's a lot of things in tonight's video, and we've gone much longer than I have before by myself in a really long time. But I hope that you have found it helpful. And I would love for you to tell me in the comments, and even go back if you're viewing it on the YouTube channel, and tell me what hit you. What are you willing to do? And what do you want, or what do you need to do to start showing up as yourself? This is one of the biggest struggles that women in general face in the world, because we have been taught not to do that in multiple different areas like we've already talked about. So this was really on my heart tonight, and I hope that you found some inspiration in it. I hope that you've been able to know that you are not alone. And also that it doesn't have to stay like this. The shame doesn't have to keep hitting you upside the forehead or in the back or stabbing you in the back. We don't have to walk around with the suffering. We can say, I want something different, and you can experience something different while honoring these other things. I don't want to get rid of the things that happened to me. I don't want to get rid of them. I want to honor them. I want to honor the dark side when someone is talking and honestly I'm irritated. I want to throat punch them. I want to honor that. Like, that tells me something that I need to know about myself. I don't want to say, oh, I'm not going to do it. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. No, I want to say, interesting. Let me explore that when I have an opportunity. Or let me do this about that, right? Kimberly says, so helpful. Not even a business person or going to be on video. You're always inspiring. Oh, love you, girl. Share. I would love for you to share this stuff. The way that people can help me in my business is seriously share this video or something on your channel, on your feed. any of those kinds of things is be helpful. We never know who is in our arena that could really benefit. And my job is to continuously offer it to everyone. So I am so glad, Kimberly, you've been here for a long time following me. And I love seeing you on here. I love Serena being on here, who found me on LinkedIn today. I'm so grateful that you're here. For anyone else who is watching that I don't know that you're on here, I just am so grateful to be here with all of you. Next week, I am having another fabulous guest. Actually, the woman I was a guest on her podcast. Look for my social media about this podcast. It'll fill you in on some of the things that maybe you don't know about me and the stuff I've hid or that I used to hide for a really long time. So thanks again. Make sure to go to my YouTube channel if you like this, subscribe, push that like button, and I'd love to see you over there too. As I say at the end of every single video, make sure to stay true to yourself, be kind to others, and always, always, always honor the wise one that is within you. I hope to see you all next week on the Rachel Freeman Sowers Live Show. Bye.